And I know a lot of you are familiar with that process and how it works, but I think we do have to take a look at that again. Maybe it's fine like it is, maybe it can be tweaked, I don't know, but that ATP process, we've been looking at that to see if there's ways to integrate these risk management approaches in there so that the people at the ATP can have the right tools to make the right decisions. And there's some software we're looking at called Decision Lens that we think can really help the ATPs and really get the appropriate issues out on the table and work in a collaborative way at that level. So I don't have the magic bullet for you on that one, but I think we just have to continue to dialogue and the collaboration and continue to work together. And as I said earlier, I think from my perspective, I would like to utilize the power of groups like this to come together and figure out ways to leverage resources in a different way. Because what's kind of happening in those situations, we're having the same discussion all the time, I think. You're probably going over there, you're having the same discussion, you're coming in and having the same discussion. So we got to change that discussion somehow to be effective and to be responsive. So I really think there's a way to do that, but I think we've got to do it collectively with various strong groups around the state, like yourself, and then have these discussions about how we can leverage financing better and what we can do collectively to leverage our money better. I don't know that any one group could do it in isolation anymore. Maybe in the past we could. I don't know that MnDOT can do it independently anymore. I think it's got to be a collaborative approach. So that's what I'm going to propose at some point, to come back to the various groups around the state that come together and have these kinds of discussions. But that's what I think the key is to change the discussion, because I think that's what's getting frustrating. You're having the same discussions all the time.
Thanks, Gary. Mike Laver, Council President Mankato. First, I do not take Nell Ray or Jim Swanson away from us in the next probably decade. We need them to help us complete this. They've been great advocates for us. They've had the displeasure but honor of providing this group with information that has been pushed down. They've been good soldiers, but they've been certainly had to provide us some information that's been negative. One thing being, last year, I believe Nell Ray actually was the one who spoke this to us, mentioned that the priorities and how projects are selected at MnDOT had changed slightly to where safety was a lower priority than mobility. And looking at your strategic direction, some of those same phrases are coming up: easy congestion, reducing commute times. Thankfully, on the paper here, safety is higher. The first question is some of those dynamics changing? And then secondarily, with the central fund, there's a great concern in greater Minnesota that those projects in the metro area will take those, use those, and leave us waiting.
Right.
The last editorial comment is this group has long advocated for things like 0.5% sales tax in the metro area to offset transit funding, so there's still more money for roads and bridges. So when you talk about that collectiveness and that advocating for a better use, this group will be there supportive in the future. So.
Okay. That's great. Let me try to address your first question there. We are changing our investment principles, and there's been a lot of talk in recent years about the investment principles at MnDOT, and the legislative auditor came back to us at some point and said we're not following our own investment principles, and the focus of that was on preservation. And but that was our investment principle at the time. You know, preservation was first. And so the legislative auditor kind of dinged us and said, you're not following that principle. So we've had a lot of discussion within the department and with the districts, and what we're trying to do now is get rid of that hierarchy. And so, and put these investment principles on an equal plane, the safety, mobility, preservation, and regional or community development, which would include economic development. I think that's got to be a key part of our investment principles. So what we're doing is we're putting those on an equal plane and removing that hierarchy so that when folks like Nelray have to work with her stakeholders and constituents here, she can operate in that way. And that was some of the feedback that we received when we went out and did our statewide plan outreach activities this summer. There's a lot of discussion about this hierarchy in our investment principles, and there's clearly a difference in the metro area and the outstate areas, and what the needs were and what the values were as far as that goes, whether it's safety or mobility, congestion. So we wanted to recognize that and acknowledge that in how we look at our investment priorities. So that's what we're trying to do is to flatten that hierarchy to give the decision-making authority to more at the local level, so that we don't force a metro priority into the outstate or vice versa. We don't want to do that. But yet we want to acknowledge that all those are important. Preservation is important. We can't ignore what we have out there. We've got to preserve our pavements and our bridges. There's no question about that. But there may be ways and opportunities to address these other things that the public values as well. Safety, mobility, and economic development. So we try to flatten that hierarchy. That's what we're doing.
Bruce Kupchak, State County Commissioner, and kind of a specific couple questions on 14. I'm wondering where we're at with the Steele County section, the county line to the 35 interchange, and also about in the EIS on the Steele Hook on the Dodge Center, where we're on at as far as maybe making a choice on the north route, south route.
Okay. Now, Ray, you want to take a stab at that?
As far as the project from Owatonna to the west, the Steele County line, that letting is next Friday. So a week from today, that project will be let. We're on track. Everything's a go. So we're looking forward to that bid opening. And we will be able to start the project this coming summer, or this coming construction season. The other project between Dodge Center and Owatonna, we've gone through the preliminary environmental impact statement process, and next Friday we have a meeting set up with all of the affected agencies, and that's something that we're required to do according to the process. And so we will be showing them all the comments that we got regarding the alternatives and all the information regarding all the impacts, and giving them an idea of what we've got concerning both roads, and then we'll get their input on a preferred alternative, and hopefully a few weeks after that we'll be able to announce what that preferred alternative will be. So we're on track to do that within the next couple of weeks, and there will be a news release regarding that, and I'm sure the fact that we're working on this with our folks will get that information ahead of time as well, so that they'll know what the decision is. And then we'll continue working on the final environmental impact statement, and hope to have that done right around the end of the year.
Commissioner, over the years, prior to your administration, others have reviewed all kinds of different plans. I remember interregional border study where Mankato and Rochester and all the partnerships along here, we're trying to get our project